Hi, it's me, Rasheed Ogunlaru, coach, speaker and author of Soul Trader, Putting Heart Back into Your Business. And welcome to this special heart-centered leadership mini masterclass. And I want to keep today's session fairly short, quite simple and quite sweet. I'm really wanting to get to the heart of leadership. It's quite apt because I happen to be recording this a week before a general election here in the United Kingdom. And what's interesting about leadership is that therefore at times like this, leadership has been on people's lips. In the United States last year and throughout this year, leadership is a big theme. It's a theme throughout the world. In Europe, leadership, in all sorts of parts of the world, leadership is an issue. And moving away from even things like the political stage, leadership is a huge issue for many people in the workplace and in business. In business, you need to be where you are a leader when you are running your own business, and you need to be mindful about the journey that you're going on, those people that you serve, the products that you create, and the environment, the ever-changing often environment in which you operate. So leadership is very, very key. And for those of us who may well be employed or in organizations, leadership is very, very important, because the chances are that you've experienced both perhaps pockets of, or hopefully pockets of good leadership, and it might well be that you've experienced moments of poor leadership. So we've all had that kind of experience of leadership, and let's keep that in mind as we move forward. I usually say in all of my actual real life workshops and masterclasses and sessions that there'll be two sessions going on, one for your head, one for your heart. Your head wants to know, okay, what's the useful, practical stuff that Rasheed's saying that I don't know already that I can apply and put into place, if at all? And when is he going to get onto some of those practical things about management versus leadership, this, and leadership styles, etc., etc., etc. And how am I going to apply this to what's going on here, there, and so on? That's the mind. And then, of course, there's your heart. And your heart just wants to be authentic. It wants to be true to you. It isn't caught up in lots of the noise of the mind. It's able to have more of a sense of perspective and just beingness, because it's not caught up in there. And I think that, aware of that and mindful of that, I just wanted to just bring this into your attention, which is going to be the focal point for much of this session today. What we've got at the top here is consciousness. What we've got here is creativity, and what we have here is compassion. I want to talk a little bit about these three things, and of course you can see there's an area here where they all intersect. Consciousness is really, really important. Remember that this is a leadership masterclass. Everything's consciousness. Consciousness includes mind, but consciousness is the energy, it's space, it's that which you like birth's time. You know, it's our individual consciousness, it's our collective consciousness. It's within this space of consciousness things like purpose, sit, all of this kind of stuff, awareness, all of these things sit within consciousness. And so as a leader we need to raise our consciousness from where we were before, because before perhaps we were an office coordinator, then suddenly we become an office manager, then we become this, we become that, we become a leader. Our consciousness needs to be raised from the level that it was, to be mindful of not just the individual task that I'm doing, but of the whole. But again, I think that a really conscious leader, even in the context of this, a leader of a country or a huge organisation, very often there's room where we can involve that consciousness. Because very, very often I'm just seeing that I'm a leader of this team or of that team or within this particular division, or even of this arm of the North American, the Northern Europe arm or what have you. I'm still seeing my leadership journey as kind of a bit of a division of. I think to be really conscious leader, we need to be mindful of the entirety, as my friend went on that journey of leadership. So very often we may well be, as I often say this, focusing on one thing or one cause or one task or what have you, when our consciousness isn't as advanced. And as our consciousness advances, we become mindful of all. We become mindful of our fellow human beings. We become mindful of the other person. We become mindful of our staff, of our team, of our customers, of our stakeholders, of all of those we serve. Our consciousness isn't just limited to money consciousness or profit consciousness or output consciousness or goals consciousness. It is a far more awakened, broader consciousness. I think that's a really nice moment just to invite you just to be still and to be silent. I'm going to invite you, if you want to close your eyes and just to sit with that. What is consciousness? What's your level of consciousness? I invite you just to be still. What are you currently conscious of right now? You might even just right now begin to realize that you're becoming quieter and stiller. And perhaps when we started this, you had a number of things on your mind. This project, that project, this priority, or if you'd have time to really sit through this whole masterclass session. All of these things. Or a fair number of things you might have had on your mind. But interestingly, from our day-to-day consciousness, our day-to-day mindset, there will only be a certain number of things that we are aware of. And sometimes the mind feels overwhelmed by trying to carry these things. But here, as we're stiller, we can be at ease. All of these different ingredients, elements of your life, they're still there, of your career, your business, your organisation. They're still there. But there's now a greater space in which they can be. And right now we're not overly concerned, because it could be the case that we're putting far more weight on this thing than that thing. In this space we can be mindful of the weight or the attention that they need. On that note, that's a beautiful word to then bring us into what I'm going to invite you to think about now. What does require your attention now? You might be surprised by some of the answers. It might be actually myself and my health requires attention now. The member of my team was struggling this morning, or that I had a row with, or that I just need to give a little bit more help and support to because I had to dart out of the office, or whatever it might well be. Or it might be a business deal, business transaction. You might have got something very important. Oh yeah, that really significant invoice that you didn't put out. So what's interesting about here, we can bring to our consciousness that that's really, really important. I also want to invite you from this space of consciousness to think about why is it that you're here? Why are you leading in the first place? Why are you here? What's your purpose here on this planet? What are your skills? What are your talents? Are you on the right path? Are you content in your job, your work, your business? These things are really important. Do you feel aligned to the purpose of the organisation or the business? These things are really, really important because these questions, who am I? Why am I here? And so on, are very, very powerful. Because the more rooted and clear you are about those things, the more it is that's going to help you to move forward, the more it is that you can be energized, inspired, and aligned. So that's a little bit about consciousness. There's so much more about that. How conscious are we of our customers? What's going on for them? Perhaps before I was so caught up in me or this or that, that I'm unaware of what's going on amongst my customers. How conscious are you of what's going on in your work environment, in the business environment? Perhaps things are changing. Perhaps the reason why your company is struggling is that there's new innovations, new changes, new things going on in the environment, new things, maybe there's things going on in terms of the economy, maybe there's all sorts of things, maybe there's new legislation. Are you mindful of it? Only when we become silent can we become mindful of these things. Whatever level of leadership it is that you are on, sole trader, sole, singular, one person running their own small business, who are their own bosses, a freelancer, self-employed, what have you, or you're running a huge company, country, record label, whatever it is, this is really, really important. Do you notice the stillness of attention, the quality of attention that's emerged from here? Now this awareness, this clarity, this stillness, all resides here. These are qualities that are really essential for you to make good decisions, for you to be sharp during that meeting, for you to be incisive, decisive, concise, comprehensively mindful. All of this. You'll be mindful, and as I often put it with these things, when are the times where it is I need to zoom out and see the big picture of what's going on for me, for the organisation, for the company, for this individual, for these customers, for this new line of products? And when is it that I need to zoom in to something specifically? This, that detail, this particular big document that people are wanting me to sign off. That's going to require a little bit of attention. I think from here, I've said all I want to say about this consciousness for now. Remember I said it's a mini masterclass. If you like, this is an invitation for you to trust and to work from the heart. Let's move now to creativity, actually. Let's move to creativity. When I started off by talking about consciousness, I was saying that here is the space of everything. It's energy, it's life itself, isn't it? It's mind, it's our awareness, it's all of these things. Then within consciousness, and as we find ourselves here on this planet, we find ourselves in this realm of creativity, isn't it? And creativity, again, you've got these elements of energy. We live in a material world. There's products that it is that you're creating, the services that we're creating, the things that we're doing. We're running a company, we're in an industry, etc. We deal with government, we deal with these organisations, that organisation. This is taking you into this whole realm of creativity. There's arts, there's this, there's culture, there's all of these particular things. Creativity, I guess, is how we converse as human beings. All of these things are created. I'm here sat on something created. We have these particular tools and technology, all this stuff that it is that we create, the books, this, that, the tools, all of these things which we use personally, for home, for our convenience, for our work or for our leisure, to inspire and engage us, to make us feel comfortable at home. Whatever these particular tools are, these particular things which are going to promote our cards, whatever it is, promote our business, all of these things are the stuff from the realm of creativity. And of course, lots of our creativity will begin in our own consciousness. As a leader, it's really important, of course, that you are creative. One of the things that I find quite interesting is lots of leaders really struggle when it comes to creativity, be it that they're in business or be it that they are in organisations. Very often they get caught up in a kind of a rigidity of this is who I am, this is what I need to do, this is what I need to execute, and it's just measuring this and that. Of course there are times when we need that focus, but in order to make things happen we need to be creative, we need to be able to come up with creative solutions. And when we find something, we need to be able to cut something down. We create these things that we call scissors. We need to write something down over, we want to be able to do that. We kind of create paper, we create card. We discover that there's a particular need for people to connect in a new way. We create new sorts of technologies. we've got new ideas and so on that we're wanting to share. We create it into a book. So business, any kind of business, is born from creativity and from human need. Because again, just to segue this thing between creativity and consciousness, in consciousness we know that in this particular life there is land, there's resources, aren't there? There's land, there's the resources, there's the water, we have the air, we have the minerals and so on. Then there's human beings, which we now call human resources, of course, and human's creativity. And so based on the land, and we're living materially, there are these tools, the resources, the natural resources, and we mine things and we fish things and we create things and we craft things, and there we find ourselves in the land of creativity. From the houses we build, the offices we build, the businesses we build, the empires and so on we build, the sand castles and everything else that we build. So we find ourselves in this space. But then business is born from human need, desires, fears. First of all, they're core needs. As we find us walking, we realise that we are having particular challenges, so we create ourselves shoes and so on. There are essential needs. We need food, we farm, we fish, and so on. We harvest. We eat the vegetation. And then as we've developed beyond our essential needs, our survival needs of food and so on, the practical needs of, for example, the shoes, the clothing and all of these things that we wear to keep us warm or whatever, then to keep us cooler and so on. And we create the homes which shelter us and so on, and then we find that we need purpose, we create buildings and businesses and all of these kind of things. And then we develop over a period of time all of these more complex needs to achieve, to do the things that we're wanting to do, because also some of these things have to do with our status or how it is that we engage, and hence these kind of tools and so on. And it is in this particular age where we become, we're quite consumed by how it is that we spend our working time and our leisure time, that we have more and more gadgets, tools, home comforts. So now I need something to make me even more comfortable. Or I need new apps to make things even more fast, or I need a new book because I need something new to read and so on. So we become very materialistic and we become consumers. It's good to be mindful of what those are core needs are and what are those are developed need, those conditioned needs. So that's an interesting point of the connection between consciousness and creativity. But getting back to you, well, you might be thinking, your mind might not be thinking, okay, what's this got to do? What's this got to do with me? Well, it's important that you're mindful about it. What are the things that people actually need? If you're running a business, this is one of the core things. Who are your customers? Where are they at? What are their needs? What are their concerns? What are their fears? Some of their needs may be basic needs, some of their needs may be human needs, some of their needs may be relationship needs, some of their needs might well be in terms of the work, the careers that they run, some of their needs may well be about the fact that they need homes or security, or that there's now lack of security. Some of their needs may well be around their health and their well-being, because they're now struggling with their health and well-being, or their psychological needs, all of these things. You need to be mindful of what are their needs, what are their desires. Of your customers, of your staff, of your colleagues, of your boss. And then from here, what are your creative skills and talents? We're all gifted with skills and talents. The shrewd person uses the skills that they have and the talents that they have. So what you may well find, and what happens a lot of the time, is that because we get caught up with mind, we feel we should be doing this and that, and many people find themselves in careers, businesses, and all sorts of things that they're not actually genuinely passionate about. You as a leader, you need to find out what people are genuinely passionate about. You need to know what their skills and their talents genuinely are. They may or may not be aware of them. And you need to be able to inspire, connect, and encourage them so that you can develop their talents and their well-being. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to get the best out of them. I have a saying that in order to motivate people, you might need to motivate your staff, you may need to try and be making them more productive, you might well be trying to motivate people to buy from you, whatever. In order for people to be motivated, you need to know what their motives are. From here, then, you can be creative in terms of things that you need to create for them, and creative in terms of how it is that you interact with them. But I think a lot of this is being born from being mindful that we human beings are on a journey, and that we value interactivity, and that there are some core, as I say, and some conditioned needs. Sometimes in all the noise of the mind, what happens is it just becomes overwhelming, because you think, okay, what's the next product we're going to create? How are we going to now get all of our staff going through this particular program? How do we get more productivity out of them? And again, I think the invitation sometimes is to be still, to be silent, to be mindful. And then very often an idea will pop into your head. For me, I look at creativity a lot through the lens of being a singer and a songwriter, and I have a quote which I need to bring to your attention. I say sometimes to people, perhaps creativity for you is about being more productive, creating more productivity, more efficiency. Very often is, particularly for the leader, for the manager, we now need you to do this, you need to execute this plan, we now need a strategy from you, we need more sales from you, we need this, all these things from you. An important thing to be mindful of, and I say this to people often, that creativity gives birth to money. Money does not give birth to creativity. It's from the mind, it's from our psyche, from our skills, our talents, our cognizance, our consciousness. That an idea will arrive, and we use our skills to craft it and to create something new. An idea, a product, a service. An enhancement to an idea, product, a service that's already there. So I think, again, stillness is very important so that you can be creative. There's a link between creativity and nature. Because creativity often springs from inspiration. Inspire means breath, literally means breath. So sometimes to be still, to be out in nature again, it invites us to move back to consciousness. Oh, it's come to me. Why not do this? Why don't we have the system where instead of people doing A, B, C, we can just get them to do A and B, and that's going to lead them to C, or whatever, what have you. It can emerge from there. As I was saying before, I look at these things very much as I do from being a singer. Because as a singer-songwriter, 1 minute I don't have an idea, the next minute there's an idea there. So many creatives will say the same thing for the artists. Oh, just inspired. It might be a piece of music, it might be a tree, a leaf, whatever inspires them. The running seas may inspire them. It's really important to know what your inspiration is, what energizes you. That time in nature, that time being mindful of your nature, being aware of other people's nature, that's going to help you to be creative. Intuition is really important here, because intuition might be that thing between you and the other, to intuit. From this space you can be kind of insightful, you can be engaged, you can be in the space of connectivity and communion, from which you're aware of what the other needs, and crucially, conversation. And from there we can be aware and to use and to synthesize that with our creative skills. So what I'm saying here is that creativity here needs space. It needs awareness. How often have you had that situation where there's a particular problem, you've been asked to do this, you've been asked to do that, you're not sure, you're wondering whether to turn this way or that way, and you sleep on the idea or what have you, and it comes to you, it's very, very clear. I think this is a lovely moment to bring into play the third portion here that's important: compassion, love, caring. If I'm trying to create purely in a vacuum, it can become kind of difficult, it can become kind of complex, because I'm trying to make something happen, I'm trying to persuade or cajole more often somebody to buy something from me, or my team to buy into something. I was saying before, in order to motivate somebody, you need to know what their motives are. In order to really, truly serve your customers, you need to understand them. You need to really care about them. So I often put it, do you care about their customers or just their cash? If you just care about the cash, sooner or later they're going to see through you. Sooner or later, if there's another opportunity that's quicker, faster, smaller, more convenient, whatever, bigger, brighter, cheaper, whatever, more attuned to them, shinier, has more extras, they're going to go for something extra, something different. But if there is that real connection and they know that you genuinely care, something very, very powerful happens. The power of compassion is deeply underrated. First of all, it's compassion to yourself, taking care of yourself and your well-being, your health. So many leaders have burned out. I've been watching the general election coverage here. It began by talking the election. I can see many leaders who are burned out, exhausted. I have to meet many people, they're lost in the mind. In all the to-dos and all the strategies. That's why I just wanted to bring it back to these three simple things. I think that's a lovely moment for me to bring in. So compassion actually is about loving you, loving what you do, and loving others too, loving those who you serve. That's it. Love is the only answer to every question. I want to just bring one more thing to your attention during this masterclass. You may have seen things like this before. Intention. What's your intention? What's your intention as a leader? What's your intention as a boss? Actually, maybe this could be a future t-shirt. What's your intention as a boss? Are you to command and control or to help people to become the best that they are? What's your intention when it comes to a customer? So what's your intention as a customer? What's your intention as a political party? Is it to help people flourish or is it to try and keep them down? You need to be mindful about this. If you're trying to keep people down, there's always going to be chaos. There won't be any peace within or without. Intention has got a huge direct impact on impact. It might be good for us to jump from intention to impact. What's the impact? I guess this is a good moment for the mind to rejoin us during this workshop, this masterclass. The mind is very interested in impact, results, goals, outcomes, the yield, the fruit, the money, the sales, the repeat business, the general election win, whatever it might well be, the number one hit record, being number one in your sport, winning the league. But it's more than that. It's about that, how people feel about what you do, how what you do stays in people's hearts, in their memories, in their consciousness, in their lives. It's part of the fabric of who they are. That's what the great leaders do. When we talk about great leaders, some of those great leaders may be people in your family, they may be teachers, maybe friends. It's what the greats do. They care about that human impact. They care about that footprint. They care about the impact on the planet. They care about the impact on your mind, in your lives. They care about the impact now and over time. From being aware of your intention, it's a nourishing intention, especially. That will shape what's the input that you need. Okay, I need to do X, Y, and Z. Okay, I need these resources. I need to do X, Y, and Z. The team need to do this, this, and that. We need to stop doing that, but a little bit more of this. And it's wise to be able to deliver that with integrity. Integrity, authenticity, and integrating all of those particular parts. The blend of skills, connectivity. So actually there's a lot of very practical stuff here for the mind to grab hold of. I'm going to close where we began. Conscious. What is that you need to be conscious of? What is that you're seeking to create? What is it you're creating? Why are you creating? I remember once saying to an entrepreneur, a very wise, lovely soul, who was a bit of a dilemma where his business would be, and he's got business is doing very, very well. This guy's a very wise man, wonderful spirit. I said to him, what needs to be created? What is it the world actually needs? What is your customers actually need? Meditate on that, sit with that. Let's carry out with compassion. It's very important not to be too sidetracked by all of these things, to know when it is that you need to be still, when it is that you need to be silent. To know what's calling you, which is kind of grabbing at your attention, but to know that which is truly important at that moment. I think I'm going to leave it there. I think there's probably enough food for thought if you're interested, food for thought. But hopefully there'll be enough warmth also for the heart also. I want to thank you so much for tuning in to this Heart-Centered Leadership Masterclass. Consciousness, creativity, compassion. I think the last thing I want to say around here that may help you with your creativity is your authenticity, your ability to listen, your ability to tune in. What I find with so many people who are leaders when I'm coaching them is they're not aware of their magic. Know your magic, trust your magic, and know that you're a manifestation of life's magic. I want to thank you so much. I'm going to wrap it up there. Take good care. I'm Rasheed Ogunlaru, author of Soul Trader, Putting the Heart Back into Your Business. If you're wanting more tools to help you, more insights, there's some stuff in Soul Trader. If you're wanting to calm and quell the mind and be attuned to yourself, Become Who You Are, the audio talk is available from my website. There's lots of other information on soultrader.biz. You'll find lots of other stuff on my rosario.com, my website, as well as I say, soul-trader.biz, and on my YouTube channels and so on. And you'll find me on social media, including Twitter and on Instagram and so on. And there's a Facebook page both for me and for Soul Trader. Thank you so much, and take care. And maybe the last thing actually I want to say is this. Your job is to do your job with all your heart. Life will go its own merry way, at its own merry pace. But if you do, then you and life will be the richer for you being here. And I think that is the key of all of this stuff. Consciousness, we're but a dimension of it. Creativity is constantly changing. We create, we innovate, these things shapes, reshape. Compassion, heart, love is key throughout the journey. Take good care. Wishing you or your loved ones, everyone it is that you serve, every joy, every bliss, every happiness. And thank you so much for tuning in. Bye-bye.